I can say that with all honesty. When I was 16, I was raped by somebody that I thought I could trust. Somebody that my friends told me was a good guy. And I, along with a lot of survivors that I have talked to through the years, did the same thing that women still do today. I spent a lot of time blaming myself, thinking, you know, I shouldn't have been drinking, I shouldn't have trusted him, I shouldn't have gone out. You know, what in the world was I thinking? And I held on to that for so long, and I want to say to everybody here that there is nothing in the world, nothing that any of you could ever do or say or be or act or anything that would ever put even a glimpse of responsibility on your shoulders. Nothing. It's a choice that somebody else makes to do something against your will. Period. You know, we had a graduate student working with us a few years ago, and she used this analogy, which whenever I hear it, whenever I say it, I'm reminded of my own experience, and it makes me feel better. Okay, there's risks in life that we all take every single day. We take risks, right? We live in North Dakota, and it's getting colder out now, and soon we're going to have snow, and we're going to have ice, and we're going to have rotten weather, right? Any one of us could walk around campus at any point during those icy times of the year with, stilettos on, if we wanted to. You know, we have the right to walk anywhere we want to with stiletto heels. Do we run the risk of falling down? Yeah, big time. Do we run the risk of getting hurt? Yep, we sure do. Yep. Do we have a right to wear them? You bet. You bet we do. It will never give somebody else the right to come up behind us and push us down. That's the big difference. So for any of you here that are holding on to the same kind of guilt that I did for years, don't waste your time like that. Please don't. I'm not saying that that a person ever gets over it, that you ever are able to erase it from your memory. Because I can close my eyes and I can tell you what color the room was, what he was wearing, what I was wearing, the whole bit. I was 16. I'll be 60 this year. That's a long time to remember things like that. But I know that it was not my fault. So if the message that you can give to other women, and you can tell yourselves and your friends, is that, we will have done a great service for women, I think. Because we hold on to guilt like nobody. I swear, when we popped out of that birth canal, son of a gun, we popped out, we got, that whap on the butt, and an extra guilt gene just got added onto it. Try to figure out a way to make everybody else's life better, and don't, it's okay to keep on heaping guilt after guilt after guilt on yourselves. And that's so wrong. It's so wrong. I look around here and I think, you're the ones who are going to be taking over this country. Do it. Do it. You're so strong. You're so capable. You're following your dreams. You're going after what you want. Don't let something that somebody else does to you stop that process for an instant. Does it take a lot of help? Yes. Does it take a lot of professional help, a lot of counseling? You bet. You bet. It takes a lot of support from friends and family and everybody else that you trust. But you can move forward. We can never go back and unring a bell. It's done. I know that I will always be a statistic, and I can live with that, because what it's taught me and what it's given me, honestly, is the opportunity to use my voice to tell other people, don't do what I did. Do not hold on to that. We know what happens on our campus. We know what happens in our community. You all handed out the statistic sheets for North Dakota. I was looking at those stats before I did the welcome for the Take Back the Night rally, and I thought, if we took just those statistics, just for North Dakota, and those are based on the people that have come forward to get help. If every one of those individuals created a shirt for the Clothesline Project, we would need like 37 rooms the size of the ballroom to accommodate that. That's how many people have reported being victimized by violence in North Dakota. So to think that it doesn't happen in Grand Forks or that it doesn't happen on our campus, we're living in a fantasy if we think that. Don Rasmussen from UPD and I are going around actually to all the Greek community and doing a presentation on sexual assault. And I could have brought the PowerPoint with, but I'm not a PowerPoint person. I go with Don, and bless his heart, I'm so excited to show all the slides. I just want to talk to people. I know what that feels like, and I could give you a definition, state definition, but you could look at it. You know, you can look it up. You can look it up. You can figure that out. What I want to talk about and what I want to share with you today is what it does to a person's soul. And why, when I walked in that room during the Clothesline Project, I was so impressed by all of you. Because it's like I said, a topic that people just, it's not top on the list. You know, you'd rather watch, I think when I was leaving, it was the Real Housewives of Miami. Bravo. I think Hocus Pocus was coming on one of the Lifetime channels or whatever, but it's just so important, I think, that you do give your time and you talk about this issue because it is one that faces us. I have lost count through the years. I mean, I've been at the Women's Center, involved with the Women's Center since 1984, long before you were born. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I don't have a count anymore of how many women, how many of your peers, how many of your sisters through the years have sat in my office and talked about episodes where they felt like somebody else has completely taken away every piece of control in their life. It's, you know, when I talk with people who have not experienced it, who don't know what that's like, and how I think sometimes there's this mindset that, well, you know, you'll get over it in time. Like I said, it happened to me a long time ago, I can remember. When I give you an example, and it pales in comparison, but just to give you an idea of what a survivor of violence lives with on a daily basis, I want to ask if any of you have ever been involved yourself or had a close family member or friend who was ever in a bad car accident. Okay? Did the car accident happen maybe more than 5 years ago? Okay. If I was to ask you to give me some description of what that accident was like, what you remember about it, could you? Yeah. And that pales in comparison when you think about sexual violence, either domestic violence or sexual assault or rape. We don't forget. I do the Impact Personal Safety class, and I can tell you that this is our 13th year of offering those classes, and in the beginning, how many of you have taken that, by the way? Yes. How many of you are going to take it before you graduate? Thank you, thank you. But in the opening, we have an opening circle where all the students, we just make this big circle, the instructors introduce themselves, and we go around and kind of share why. You know, why are you here? Why do you want to take this class? I've never, in those 13 years, taught a class where we haven't had at least half. Sometimes there's less than half, but on average, about half the class has been affected by violence, either themselves or by somebody that they care deeply about. It's stunning. Those are all college students, every one of them. It's something that just is never very far away from your head. And there's really nothing, I mean, even with the self-defense class, the last thing we'd ever want is for people to walk away thinking, well, now you're invincible. Although, I have to say, if you have taken it, I'm sure, Amina, you could probably take anyone's.
I remember when you took it.
I'm sure. But it's so much more than that. It just really gets into where what kind of fears do we hold in our lives? So I'm going to ask you, when you walk around this campus, day or at night, when you're walking across this campus, do any of you think something might happen to you as you're walking? Look at that. Just look at that. Do you think that changes how you enjoy walking around this campus at night? Do you ever go to a party and you just hope upon hope that you don't ever run into anybody that's going to take advantage of you? Or any of your sisters? Or you're going to wake up on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and get a knock on your door that somebody has been assaulted? Yeah. What a crappy way to spend your time here at UND. And I can't do a darn thing about that. I mean, I can't change it. I can't stop it from happening. The very best that I can do is to talk with you about it and bring in allies that will watch out for each other. Watch out for each other. Because the reality is and I'm not saying that women don't assault men. I'm not saying that because we do. You know, there are women that do assault men. But statistically speaking, if any of you face violence, it's going to be at the hands of a male. And even more than that, it'll be at the hands of somebody that you know. 90% of the time in North Dakota, when rapes are assaulted, it's from somebody that the person's in the family. Because they're cowards. They're the most self-serving, self-centered, egotistical sons of bitches you will ever run across. Sorry. They are so consumed with what they want, they could care less what it is that you're going through in those moments. So the very best that we can do, I think, is to be there for each other, to keep your eyes open all the time. All the time. I know Linda Walker, when she was here for the Clothesline Project or for the rally, has told me so many times that if Drew were to walk down the stairs right now and give you any piece of advice about safety, it would be keep your eyes open, be aware of your surroundings all the time. All the time. And one of the biggest things that we do in the impact class is talk. Hi, Lexi. Busy woman. You changing any laws today? The best thing that we can do, is to listen to, and I know this sounds cliche to you, because you've probably heard it a million times. If you listen to what your body's telling you. How many of you have ever gotten a queasy feeling? Okay, now be really honest. How many of you, when you've gotten a queasy feeling, have thought, too much SVU, too much... Can't be something wrong, it's me, I'm being paranoid. I can tell you, when I look back and I think about that night that it happened to me, yeah, there was just something. We'd gone to a movie, and then he said he'd forgotten something in his apartment. Can we just swing over and get it? Yeah. As soon as I said yeah, I'm thinking, that's odd. But I thought, well, you know, kind of fun to see his apartment anyway. Minimize. And again, I'm not saying that it was my fault. I'm just saying that if I had paid attention, I would have been much more alert to the situation. And I would not have given credit to this SOB that he didn't deserve. Absolutely didn't deserve. So when you get that feeling in your gut, the best thing that you, and it'll happen not only if this thing is happening to you, you'll get a sense of it if it's happening to somebody with you, a friend of yours. You'll get a feeling about that situation, those moments in time. And for all of you who really take seriously the reason that you joined a sorority, to be sisters, to be there for each other, you have that responsibility when you get that feeling to stay alert to what's going on. No matter what that person, because I can tell you, I've heard this before, and I know it's true. You're at a party, and you're drinking, and you're having a good time, and you have a friend, and you think, no, she's had a little bit too much to drink. Shouldn't leave her. I shouldn't leave her. I'm going to take her out of here. And your friend is saying, no, I'm fine. Of course that friend is going to say, I'm fine. What does alcohol do? You know, it brings down the inhibitions, right? We're fine. Leave me alone. And you don't want to believe that something bad could happen, so then you have to go on just this trust factor. Maybe it'll be okay. So my challenge to you is that if you get that feeling and you're going to say, no, leave me alone, Make a promise to yourself. I would rather have that friend of mine mad at me for a good semester or two and keep her with me than to leave her alone and walk away feeling like I've got that feeling in my gut. Let her be angry with you. Let her even call, let her call you names. Let her do whatever, but don't leave her alone. Period. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I'm just going to ask you if you have any questions. If you have any thoughts about this topic, or anybody want to share anything, if this makes sense or not. Because if it doesn't make sense, yes.
You said you were talking to both fraternities and sororities on the Greek campus, and the other day I don't remember who I was talking with, but we were talking about you coming and how excited we were, and we were just thinking like how much we wish fraternities would also like hear that message. And so I was just kind of wondering what kind of message you bring to them, and kind of what what kind of presentation they get. Yeah.
I talk with them. I share my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them what happened to me. I tell them that I have talked to women that on this campus throughout my whole career that have shared stories with me. I give them that example of a car accident, and the hands go up, and they can, give me all the stuff they remember. I think for the most part, they don't, there's a disconnect. They just don't get it. We were over at one house last week one night, and one of the guys said, well, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that if I'm right in the middle of something, and I get this feeling like she's like, I don't really want to do this, that I'm supposed to stop? And Don Rasmussen is like, well, yeah, you're supposed to stop like right now. He said, let me tell you something. He said, for any of you guys that are sitting here thinking, well, I can't. I have a daughter, and if she was in the living room of my house with some guy, and they were getting hot and heavy, and everything seemed to be okay, I guarantee you that if I walked in that room, and he went like this, if I walked in that room, yeah, good point. So they get it. They don't want to. They don't want to get it. They don't want to take responsibility for being in a position where they could make everything just go away or stop. But yeah, we're not sugarcoating it. Don has a lot, like I said, he does the PowerPoint thing, so he's this is the definition of sexual assault. This is the definition of rape, and I let him, do that part of it or whatever. But I want them to feel uncomfortable. I want them to get a glimpse of what it's like for us. I think that's important. They're not little boys. I talk to them about the fact that, in a few years, they may be in relationships if they're lucky enough, and maybe we'll have a child. And I told them, I said, you go down the road a little bit, and when that daughter of yours ends up going to a university, and she calls you at 2 o'clock in the morning and says, Daddy, something horrible just happened to me, something awful. I said, the thought that's going to run through your head is going to be not only what your daughter is dealing with, but you're going to go right back to when you were a student at UND, and you turned a blind eye, or you ignored somebody saying no to you. And I said, that is what's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. And you can't get over that. You can't. You will have to live with it. And it's just dead silence. Just dead. So do we reach them all? No. And our hope is only that we reach a few, that will have the guts to stand up and do the right thing. We had one guy that said, well, what happens if I try to stop something and then I end up in a fight with the guy that doesn't want to listen? And I just turned it right to Don. I said, what are you going to do? Are you going to arrest this guy for trying to do the right thing? And the guy's like, whatever. And Don said, yeah, we probably would arrest him. But through the investigation, we would know why. And there wouldn't be any charges brought against him. That simple. But I